This is Baker Mayfield money, you sicko. No, I'm
Well,
not taking advantage of people's bowel movements. Come on. Hello and welcome to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. The weekend is here. 2025 is here. New year, new you. So much to get to as we just came off our bowl show for the last couple weeks. Appreciate a lot of you guys sticking with us, wanting up-to-date, accurate information that will get you into profit. We're going to give that to you and much, much more. Check on how 2024 ended. Let me bring in my co-host, as this is the most important hour of your day if you're going to be betting on sports this year. Mr. Brandon Rush from Louisville, Kentucky. How are you, buddy?
I am well, resolving to do much of the same that I did in 24. Just turn profit and stay above ground.
That's obtainable goals. That's what they
Right.
say, right?
You set the bar low, and then anything above that's just icing on the cake, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny how everybody handles the new year. You know, you have people that will come out with these grandiose things, and then other people are like, you know what, I'm kind of over it. I wonder if that has to do with failures in the past, or if it has more to do with just the point you are in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, my daughter came up to me. We'll talk about a lot of the things over the holidays, but whatever. My daughter came up to me literally a day or two before the New Year, said, "Dad, I'm running a half marathon." First, it was I'm going to run a marathon.
Oh, wow.
In 2020.
An ambitious goal. A lot of people do that, sure.
And then she said she backed off that. She had 5 reasons why. All of them were stupid.
5 reasons she was running a marathon?
That she's going to run a marathon,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm fat. I need to get back at you. That was just ridiculous. Just so dumb. I don't want to be a girl in the world, period. I don't want to be a woman. No. They look at their bodies totally different than everybody else looks at their bodies, and they are the most critical beyond recognition to what they are and who they are. These are beautiful people, and they still, I mean, she hasn't gained a pound. I mean, but whatever. The point is she's going to run a marathon, and then she backed off a half marathon. So she's got this thing now with TikTok and these apps. You don't just throw it out there. You go and you line up a vision board, and they teach you how to train, and here's how you're going to start, and all this. So basically, she came down for the first 4 or 5 days before the New Year. She said, "You don't think I'm going to do it, do you?" I mean, just basically would wake up in the morning, come start want to fight. You know, like, and I never said
one way or the other whether you thought she would and or could.
Yeah, she told me that she was going to do it, and I went, okay, all right, that's a 2025. There you go. You do. That's all I did. But every day, you don't think I can do it, do you? No, I don't think anything. I want to see you do more than a vision board, and then we'll talk about whether you can do it or not. So she's got ambitious goals. You're like, you know what? I'm going to do what I've been doing. Seems to be working out so far. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm probably somewhere in the middle, but I haven't laid anything specific out, which means that I'll fail or I won't succeed because I haven't laid nothing out yet. So
right. I mean, it's a glass half full, glass empty situation. You can't fail if you don't say, "Hey, here's what I'm going to do." So
I had a pretty good year. I mean, I'd like to tighten it up. Last year was Build Back 2024. I was going to do a push-up every day. First, I was going to do one.
I completely forgot about that because we made it to the Super Bowl and you were on that would have been like day 45 and you would have had to have done 45 push-ups, but you had a bankroll of days where you got skipped.
Yeah.
And then you were going to have to start cranking out about 90 a day just to get caught up before we got to 365.
And anybody watching this on the
on YouTube
will see that I'm not doing 365 push-ups in a day. You can see I look exactly the same as I did at the start of the year. So I thought about more build back, and I reconstructed the effort that I was going to give. I was going to do one a day for a month. Actually, no, my latest one I was going to do 1 push-up, and then on the second I was going to do 2 sit-ups. And then I was going to do 3 push-ups and then 4 sit-ups. So I was going to alternate. When you get to 30, you go back to 1. You get like a reward, you go back to 1. And I've had people that actually work out and have done this. Have exercised in their life, say that's, by the way, a stupid idea. It's not going to work, and it's not going to do anything. So I've been discouraged before we even get into it, but we'll talk about that.
The haters are already out.
Already out in full force. So I've tried to reinvent the wheel here. That's not working. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel with the picks. Go to fatjacksports.com. Guys, we're going to talk about last week in the week. I'm not going to do it justice because I don't want to spend – after spending, 3 minutes or 4 minutes on 8 minutes maybe on literally nothing, exercise and marathons and all that crap. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I do want to go over. December has been a huge December. It's been a great month, and it was capped off by one of the best weeks of the entire year. I mean, every sport, right, Brandon? I mean, every sport. There's nothing not winning. No coincidence, UFC took the week off, so that helped because UFC's not been good over the latter part of the season, and that's okay because you're paying less than $20 a week if you add those UFC picks. I have packages now that will allow you to add these picks for very inexpensive and turn huge amounts of profit. So now's the time. Go to fatjacksports.com, get in the system, and then more importantly, get those preseason rates. All right, they went up on New Year's Eve. They're going to go up again in the middle of the month. They're going to go up again in the Super Bowl. So the bottom line is signing up early for the longer packages are going to save you a ton of money over the year. This year, they're going to allow you to add sports that maybe you don't spend a lot of time betting on. And that is in turn going to make you more money. So let's go back to the last couple. Let's go back to the last month. Let's just start with soccer because everybody hates soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like soccer. Nobody likes. You like soccer.
I love it. Yeah.
You either love it or hate soccer. All right, and I get it. I can't hate it. That's literally like an ATM machine. Mm-hmm. Even if I go up and I forget my password every time, if I have an ATM machine and it's not connected to my account, it's spitting me out money every time. I love an ATM machine. I'll figure out the password. I don't care. Soccer's become that for me. We are so good at soccer, it's not even funny. The last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 6-1, 5-1, 5-1, 6-1, 8-1. That's what we're looking at in soccer. What is that? 8, 18, 12, I don't know, 30, 28 and 5 or 6. The month of December in soccer has been generating profit week after week after week after week. I mean, just incredible. This
astronomical last week, numbers, yeah.
8-1. Our loss in soccer was a tie when we had an underdog to win. I mean, not the ones that we lose are close. The ones the ones we're winning aren't close or easy wins. So that's added over 25 or 30 games of profit in 1 month. All right, we had another one of those in the summer, and we had another one of those in the spring or in the fall. So soccer is making a ton of money. Player props. They're making money almost every week. So we were going somewhere between 16-8 and 17-12. So sometimes 10. We had a 20-10, 20-10, and this is over the last month or so. We did have a losing week in there too. We had 1 week we lost a prop. So you're going to lose some. There's a lot of plays. There's some volatility in those. This last week we were one pass actually away from having a really good Sunday. We made a little bit on Sunday, but the end of the Washington-Atlanta game, that one, I don't know if you're watching, if you were paying that much attention, Brandon, but that one, and we're not even to football yet, but football only had like 4 losses over the last week, and we played every single day. It's like 14-4. I mean, and all those are posted. Go to fatjacksports.com, look under the results tab. You'll see winner, 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 winner. I mean, very few losses. Of those losses, let's wrap up that prop. The prop bets, Washington's playing Atlanta. Washington's driven in overtime. They win the coin toss. If you win the coin toss there, you probably win both because Washington's going to kick a field goal. We're getting 4 points with Atlanta. Our quarterback with Washington's quarterback was over and under 225 yards. He was on 225.5. In overtime, he got to 225. They're on the 1.5 yard line going in to score a touchdown, which was going to beat us on Atlanta. And if he throws the ball in the end zone, it beats us on the total passing yards. You're looking up something. Hopefully, I'm telling this incorrectly.
No. You're dead on. I am replying to customers.
Oh, I hate that. I was hoping that maybe they had misdone the math or something.
No. We couldn't get that lucky in retrospect. Yeah.
All right, I was going to get to rechange it. Anyway, so 1.5 yard line, Washington's going in. If they kick a field goal, we win. If they lose the coin toss, we win, most likely. He throws a 1.5 yard touchdown. So instead of having 225 yards, he has 226.5 yards or whatever, 226. So we lose that prop bet and we lose that opinion game. But that was only our 4th loss in like 9 days. I mean, so it's hard to get upset about that. And one of the other losses over that time period was a stupid Oklahoma Sooners total that it's 21-20 or whatever it is. They scored 20 points in the whole game. Here's my problem with going. This shows, and we talked about it, Brandon, how little teams care about bowl games.
Yes.
Because that's all that was. They don't care. They want to get out of there. They're hoping to win. They'd like, but I don't care if you're looking at analytics or math or what's best for your team. If you want to win that bowl game, you don't go for 2 there. And the reason you don't are 2 reasons. Number one, the strength of your team is defense against a very predictable offense on the other side. When you get in overtime, you should be able to stop them. They don't have a great field goal kicker. And you only scored 20 points the entire game. it's not like your offense is rolling. There's nothing bigger pet peeve to me. There is one. The clock management at the end of halves and games. The NFL coaches. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's going on there.
Rough.
They waste minutes. Look with stupid looks on their face, collecting millions of dollars in checks. But anyway, Oklahoma scored 20 points the entire game. They're going for 2 at the end of the game with like 6 seconds left to win against a team they couldn't convert on 3rd or 4th down the entire game. What makes you think you're now going to be able to do it?
Mm-hmm.
You have a bad offense with backups. So it makes no sense. Other than what makes sense is they don't care about bowl games. If that was one of the other losses we had over in the OU game, over 42.5, 43, however you want to look at it.
That goes to overtime. That's a win.
They get over easily. Somebody kicks a field goal at least. They're not going to never score.
Mm-hmm.
So that wins. So those were 2 of our 4 losses over a 9-day period. Everything else won. Go look at it. FatJackSports.com under the results tab. You'll see that December's been great. The only people that are losing money this year in 2024 with us are the ones that signed up for a week in September or a week in November or a week, and they didn't do well, and they got upset, or they didn't make as much as they thought, and they went off and lost on their own, and they haven't been betting in months. If you want to make money, get signed up, and get signed up now at FatJackSports.com. You're paying the lowest rate of the entire year. You get the most months to pay out the service fee. You pay out the service fee over 8 to 10 months right now. That goes down here in a week. Now then it's going to be 6 to 8 months. So if you want to win just in football, it's $400 now, $225 over 8 months. If you can't afford that, don't gamble.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not even a don't sign up. Don't gamble.
Don't gamble. And by the way, you get baseball season for free. You get the horse races for free, which are done during the Triple Crown and the Breeders' Cup. That's free. And baseball, the entire baseball season is free. That goes away in the middle of the month. We're not going to get baseball free, most likely, as we head into 2025. It produces about 50 games of profit a year for free. Guys take advantage of that who are smart and plan ahead. Those that don't are not going to have anything to do this summer except get burned and cry about how hot it is. And wait on, I can't wait for football to get. You know who doesn't say that? Guys that are making money in soccer and baseball for free a lot of times. So go to FatJackSports.com, get signed up. Those 2025, 2026 packages will be out this week with the newer, higher rate. If you're listening to this before the first of the year or before the weekend and you're a return client, you're getting a reduced rate. So, but those long-term, all the way through the 2026 Super Bowl packages will be posted and ready to go by this week. So go get signed up there, save money, pay out the service fee, and win betting on sports. Brandon, what jumped out at you as far as the playoffs go? We've talked a lot about nothing so far except getting people in a winning mindset for the new year. The playoffs to this point, I guess I should say this show will be taped and they will. So what are your thoughts, generally speaking, as we head into this week?
I was equal parts mad and humored at people upset that the first round games were blowouts. You know, saying, this team didn't deserve to be there. Here's the thing. They earned their way in, and until there's an equal number of teams and equal number of conference games, and some teams play a conference championship and some things don't, there's going to be inequality. College sports right now is a lot like life. Some people are born on third base. Some people have to go the hard way, and everything's never going to be fair. If your goal is to have entertaining games, then yeah, you're probably upset. But to me, that is a wild argument that you weren't entertained, therefore this team didn't deserve to be there.
Don't you think? I'm beginning to think, Brandon, it's become so clear at this point that it's that squeaky wheel gets the oil. I think it's the vast minority of people. Maybe it's not. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm looking at it differently. But I think and I hope that it's the minority of people, a vast minority, a small minority,
a vocal minority,
are screaming the loudest like they do. You go on Twitter, you go on anything, people complain. They have a phone. They have an opinion. Their mom's basement is dirty. She won't bring the meatloaf. So now they're complaining about everything and they're yelling loudly. Because I think it seems pretty simple to me what's going on. And I've said this before. They should absolutely tweak the seating once they get the teams in. I think that if you want not only a more competitive balance, but it be more fair for the teams that have earned the right. And we're not just talking about winning a conference championship, because I understand that's what they went with. I get it this year. That would have been probably what I would have thought was a good idea. You win the conference championship, you benefit from a bye week. But what we found is that just because you win the conference championship didn't mean with their scenario that you were going to get the easiest path. So we've got teams getting buys playing other teams that, at least in theory and through the first round, now we'll see when it comes up to this weekend. A lot of these games will be played, so this may sound stupid to people listening, but because they're going to be played over New Year's Eve, that's on a Wednesday. Can't help the day of the week it falls on, but whatever. That we're probably going to find that some of these more competitive games were the teams out of the SEC and the Big Ten, and that the teams that included Boise, included Arizona State, some of these teams that at least the perception would be they would be worse, they're getting easier paths. That's my biggest problem. I don't think just because you lose, if you're the giant on the playground, or you're the giant in the jail yard, and you get beat up by the second biggest giant in the jail yard, doesn't mean that you are the weakest person in the entire prison. You are just the second weakest maybe on that day in the prison. So I think that you should be able to, if you're going to have who's the best, then it should be more equitable. As far as who gets in, and we've talked about this before, we'll spend a lot of time on this going to get to this week's games, but as far as who gets in, it's never been about the best team. It shouldn't be about the best teams. That's not what we're doing. If it's about the best teams, we need to go to two conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, have them all play each other or play as much as we can, and then take the best. This is about equity in college football, about allowing a team like Boise, Arizona State, and others, UNLV, teams that were almost there. Army was in the conversation. Those type teams to recruit an athlete that might go sit on the bench at Alabama or might go play for Oklahoma, and allow them to go into that living room and say, hey, here's why, other than the NIL money that we're probably not going to be as competitive on. And you do have the opportunity to transfer if I'm wrong, but I think that I'm right. And my program thinks I'm right, that we're going to be in this tournament as much as anybody. You should come play for us. That's what this is about, making it equitable, spreading around the talent at least a little bit. When you look at the opposite side of that, you see that that's not an option, because you would get every athlete if you just played the top best teams. And Alabama was in, and the couple of other teams that Ole Miss was in, and you throw out any of the ones that you perceive now as being worse. Even if they are to win, if they are to lose, if they win, even better for this argument. But even if they lose, you're just making it to where it's harder for them to recruit, which is going to make a separation of talent, which is going to allow a team like that never to succeed. So, not about that. We're still going to get a great champion, and it's been a lot more fun. Everybody can admit that, right? I mean, 12 better.
I would hope so. Yeah, and the home games in the first round, I think was really fun.
Great. It was great. I'm and I love the bowl games. We've talked about this before. And now that I'm winning a lot of the bowl games with our picks, I love them even more.
Right.
I've figured out the backups and who's doing what, and they've been easy. I mean, easy wins over the last week or so in the bowls. But I love the bowl games. But yeah, there's nothing like, and that adds that added advantage. And I think they should obviously still do that, but it just needs to be a little more equitable. Just because you win, a conference championship of those non-power four doesn't mean that you necessarily get a bye, and more importantly, how you seed them going in, it needs to be equitable, at least in this round. And we're not. We're going to get a team. Penn State may make the Final Four. And Penn State hasn't beaten a top three team in 20 years, and they may still not. Worst thing for this scenario is Penn State wins, and then Penn State gets blown out like they always seem to do. Not saying it's going to happen. We had Penn State in the first round, so I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that how this rolls out will do a lot to do with how they tweak it. They definitely need to tweak a lot of college football, which we could spend hours on. NIL, transfer portal, all it needs to be tweaked. But overall, much better than it was. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today. Start winning less than $100 a week for the year. If you sign up for everything, and you add the soccer and the UFC and everything, and you divide it out, it's about $100 a week to make money betting on sports with all the plays when you get these preseason deals. Now, if you wait, you pay more, and then you're getting a la carte, and you're adding this here, it's going to be more. But it's a little more than 100, but it's not much more than $100 a week over the entire year on average to win. And that's getting everything: soccer, UFC, player props, football, basketball, free baseball season, all that. I mean, it's all there for, I don't know, let's say $150 a week just to be fair. But anyway, it's not much. Go to FatJackSports.com, get signed up today, and win. Plays are in your email.
It's a fun weekend for the NFL because there's a lot of scenarios at play for playoff seeding, who gets in and who's going where, and who wins the NFC North and gets that number one overall seed.
Yeah, that's the one, right? I mean, that's the big one coming up this weekend, and there aren't as many of those even this weekend. By the way, let's do some housekeeping before we leave the bowls altogether, because you're right. The next week we'll talk about the Final Four and the championship, and that's really the way it should be. But let's do just a little bit of housekeeping with the bowl season. Let me look at it. I did do some stuff. All right, the Wasabi Bowl, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Not about wasabi.
Learned something new with that, yeah.
Wasabi is a technologies company, not the spicy stuff you eat with your sushi.
Terrible name for a technology company, in my estimation.
But makes a lot of sense why we were having a question a couple weeks ago of why you would have a show. It's like avocados from Mexico. Why we would have a show? Did nobody appreciate wasabi?
Was there an unknown wasabi competitor that they needed to grab the foothold on the market?
Or they were going to roll out that we needed to not only be eating on our sushi, but we need to be eating on our Mexican food. All sorts of there's going to be something there.
Lucky Charms, who knows?
In fact, that was all a ridiculous idea. Wasabi as a garnishment is fine. Wasabi as a technology company, to your point, needed to get the word out that we're not just a spicy thing you put on your sushi, because we have technologies, and that was the Wasabi Bowl. The other thing that I saw that I thought was interesting, let's go to the NFL. I'll talk about the Pillow Fighting Championship. I've decided I found something I can actually do now. And I'm thinking about getting.
And it wasn't a Special Olympics sport at that.
That wasn't. Yeah, I'm not MMA. I'm not UFC in the Special Olympics. I'm going to go with real people, and I'm thinking about this might be my build back. It's an upper body workout because I'm going to need to get my upper body strength back. But I'm thinking
you're going to have to start doing push-ups.
I'm going to have to do some push-ups, and I may start that. So, let's look at this week's slate. So we got the big one we'll talk about after the break. What a division, Mike. You know what I mean? This. By the way, let's start there. Can anybody in that division win? Who would win the Super Bowl in that division? I'm not talking about who's going to win this game.
Yeah.
You got the Vikings and the Lions. Lions a 2.5-point favorite. Total 52.5. It's coming up on what is that on Sunday?
Sunday night, yeah.
And but let's look. We're going to talk about the game, break down the game after the break. But any of the teams in that division, including Green Bay, which is most likely to win the Super Bowl? And do you think they will?
I can't believe the words that are about to come out of my mouth, but the Minnesota Vikings might be the best positioned team in the NFC North to win the Super Bowl, mainly because of the injuries that Detroit has amassed of late, in addition to the I can't say ineptitude, but Dan Campbell will cost them a game eventually, whether it's going to be an important regular season game or a playoff game. It's going to happen. So those things roll together. Green Bay, I think, still has some pieces defensively that they need to shore up. But Minnesota's playing phenomenal. They've really bought into the locker room has bought into Sam Darnold, and they don't have many, if any, flaws.
Isn't it funny how we look at a guy and how they play early in their career, and we all of a sudden decide what type of person he is? It's like golf to me. Golfers, there are certain quote-unquote popular golfers and other guys that aren't considered popular golfers. And it's almost all based on, it used to be, now it's a little bit more of their social media accounts and stuff. But before it was all just based on how they play. We all love Fred Couples, right? Back in the day, everybody loved Fred. Freddie Couples might have been the biggest jerk in the world. Nobody knew. Nobody ever met Freddie Couples. You know what I mean?
Because he won early and he's, a likable face, we were just like, oh, hey, that guy. Yeah, we like him.
Free flowing swing. Act like he didn't give a crap. He just walked up, hit it again. Everybody fell in love with that. He might have been the biggest jerk in the world. Nobody knew. Sam Darnold, I think, has kind of gotten that. All right, now I will tell you, I'm getting ready to say something that's contrary to that, but Sam Darnold kind of got that. He got I'm bad on the field. My body language isn't great because I'm with a bad team. Now, it's not just what we think of how he's playing. His teammates love him.
Mm-hmm.
He's he's first to give it up to his teammates, first to be humble in a win, in success. And so I think it's funny how we do that as a society. We start labeling guys based on their play, on whether they're a good guy or not. I think the guy's a really good guy. With that being said, I don't think there's any chance they're going to win the Super Bowl because of him. And I know, and I understand that he is good, and he's much better than he was. But his mistakes, like Dan Campbell, there's two ways to cost yourself in the playoffs. Number one is a head coach who doesn't seem to understand anything other than what goes on in his gut. And when he thinks we should do this, he does that. And a lot of times that's a bad idea. In the regular season, that works fine. It'll get you 13 or 14 wins. Congratulations. In the playoffs, it will get you beat by a similar team in a league that is full of parity.
Yep.
That's what happened to Detroit. The Vikings, and I, by the way, Vikings fans, I'm probably gonna get texts on this that are friends of mine, and they have my number, and I will get a text if there's one in particular. If he's listening to the show, I'm gonna get. The Vikings are not gonna win the Super Bowl because Sam Darnold's mistakes are when I get pressure, I throw it where I shouldn't, and those create turnovers, and turnovers don't work in the playoffs. You'll see when we go forward in the playoffs, if a team is -2 in the playoffs, they almost always don't win. And Sam Darnold, unfortunately for Vikings fans, in my opinion, and frankly everybody else on that team, and really for Sam, who seems like a good guy, his mistakes are that. And he's not the only one. Not all of them are that way. Patrick Mahomes, when you get in the playoffs, doesn't do that. All right? Actually, Brock Purdy didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't turn it over. And those become so big when you get in the playoffs. Sam Darnold's mistakes, when he gets pressure, he throws it where he shouldn't. He expects his incredible receivers, Jefferson and others, to bail him out. That works most of the time. In the playoffs, it won't work all the time. It's going to get him beat, I'm afraid. So, like I said,
who would you take of those three?
I would take Minnesota, and I would hope that they didn't get in that situation. They were able to create turnovers. Their defense is good enough. To me, it's about balance on both sides of the ball. All right, I don't. Green Bay is not the team. Green Bay, and by the way, we had the Vikings against Green Bay. It shouldn't have been, and it was a release. It was a selection. Not surprising at all. Should not have even been that close. Now, when you look at what I normally look at, you look at balance of offense and defense. And when you go into the playoffs, you're looking who has it on both sides of the ball. Green Bay fits that mold better than the others. Green Bay has a top 8 or 9 defense, a top 5 or 6 offense, and we're just talking about out of the NFC North. But they kind of tick those boxes. Minnesota's defense is lower. They're down toward the middle of the pack in defense. Offense, obviously, they're pretty high. They're in the top 5 or 6 in offense, but actually top 8 in offense. So that I would say Green Bay fits the mold. I do not believe, and what I've talked about for weeks with Green Bay continues to happen, is when Green Bay can run the ball, and Jordan Love is able to run play action off of that. He's a totally different quarterback. He's an 8. If you want to talk about quarterbacks in the NFL 1 to 10, he's an 8. When he can run play action off of his running game. When he cannot, he's a 4.
Mm-hmm.
When he has to go back.
When he has to be the one to create and move the ball down the field, that's I mean, he doesn't have the experience in the NFL at this point to be able to overcome that.
And ball out of your hand quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He has to do that. When he has to read and survey because he's getting a 3-man rush with some complex blitz combinations, he has to read and survey and hold the ball. He is a 4. When he's able to either boom, boom, throw or drop back, pass 3 or 5 step drop, set your feet and throw, he is a 8. Total disparity, and it's not easy to stop to run the ball every single time against every single team once we get the playoffs, and that's where they're going to fail. So I think the NFC North, great story, great teams, and will make good for this weekend, but long term, going to be tough to get them into late January, early February because of what their deficiencies are, and that's just one man's opinion. But FatJackSports.com, go get signed up today. Start making money betting on the games. Get the packages through the next year's Super Bowl, the 2026 Super Bowl. You can sign up for this weekend. If you're going to Vegas, sign up for the weekend package. If you want to get through the playoffs and through the rest of January and February, get that package. Football is less than about $120 a week. When you go through the Super Bowl, you add basketball to that. It's about $50 a week, $40, something like that. Very inexpensive. Will get you into profit between now and the middle of February. Add the soccer now. Add the players prop. Now, player props will go all the way through the Super Bowl. So I may give them free in the Super Bowl as long as they keep hitting at the rate they're hitting at. We're going to have packages for playoff. It's not like we have 5 a week. I guess low on how many I thought we'd have. I thought I would have 8 to 12.
Yeah, initially you were thinking maybe 5 to 7 on a Sunday afternoon, maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon and evening games. But yeah, we've been cranking out some big numbers in props.
20, 30. I mean, we're giving.
Wild.
We were 20 and 10. And there's 2 weeks. That's 30 players. Now, yeah, you're expanding your bankroll when you do that. But the good news is I'm not giving 30 out unless we're going 20 and 10. If we're not winning, there's fewer. Because I'm betting.
If we're going 16 and 14, there's no point in giving out 30.
No, and if I'm betting it, you guys understand this who have listened to the show for. I'm betting all these things, so I'm betting thousands on this stuff. So that's a $30,000 weekend if I bet $1,000 a prop on 30 games. Well, I'm not going to do that unless I'm into profit. I know that I'm dialed in on what I'm looking at, and so that's when we're doing more. But we'll have 20. We're 17 and 14 this week, or 18 and 13 going into Monday night this last week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, we're going to have 28. There's a bunch of prop bets is the point. So even when we get the playoffs, where there will be 10 to 15 per week, all the way up until the conference championship weekend, and then there'll still be 10, 15 probably. So go get signed up for those. Add those player props. Go to FatJackSports.com.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to FatJackSports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. FatJackSports.com.
This is Brandon Rush from the Fat Jack Sports Service. If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it, we are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every week. Get free winners and tips on how to become a better sports bettor. Plus, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected with the Fat Jack Sports Service at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour, and now here is our host. Even though it's a new year, still the same winning numbers. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 2. Yeah, the good thing about doing this shows this time of year is that it's a recap of the year. So during the year, you're going to have a recap of a week or recap of a month, maybe. But when you look at the end of the year, which is how everybody should look at their gambling. We talked about this before. If you're gambling 1 week, if you're going to the rodeo in December and you go for March Madness and maybe in the summer for the World Series of Poker or something, if that's all you're gambling, then you should buy a weekend package those weeks, and that's it. If you are betting more than that, and this time of year specifically, if you're one of those guys that's betting bi-weekly, I mean, you're betting every other week or so even, now is the time to get signed up for those longer packages because you're saving so much more versus going weekly if you sign up 2 or 3 times a week. I have guys, Brandon, that sign up every single week for the week package. I don't understand it. I have offered them an opportunity to not do that, to sign up for the month or the year, and they refuse to do it. They'd rather sign up for the week, figure they're terminally ill, or they're going overseas for something. But yeah, they keep doing that. But if you're a yearly player or you live in Missouri, who's getting ready to get it in the fall, you're better off right now signing up for the season, the entire year, paying at the lower rate, paying out the service fee if you need to, although getting the better rate makes paying it all at once gets you a little better rate. Doing that, and then between now and the time Missouri rolls out their gambling, anytime you drive over to Kansas, bet then. If you go on a trip to Colorado or to Illinois or to wherever, bet then. And then when you get to the fall, because you're going to pay less doing it that way, signing up now, than you will waiting until the fall to sign up. So go to Fat Check. Go ahead.
Say just by doing that, you are almost insuring yourself 10 to 20 units of profit by doing that and signing up early, as opposed to waiting until August to sign up for football, because you're going to be saving so much money just in that span. Plus, any games that you win between now and then are just additive.
Which we're going to win. I mean, that's the thing. Your package starts when you sign up, so it's not like your package starts in December if you sign, or in August if you sign up for football season. You get the rest of this football on that yearly package, and if you sign up for basketball or either of you're getting baseball for free, you're going to make money over the summer, even if you're not betting all the time. There's so many smart reasons to sign up now versus wait. The only reason you sign up in August, September is if you A, hate money, or B, you are new. But if you're listening to this show, especially if you're listening to this show on the podcast or any of the radio stations around, and it's a regular stop on your week, now's the time to sign up, even if you don't bet every single week, because it saves you so much money versus waiting or doing it a la carte through the year. So go to FatJackSports.com, sign up today, and win this weekend. International Pillow Fighting League, Brandon.
An international. So is it kind of like, is it a team event? Is this solo?
It's solo. It's like UFC, but with pillows. and
Okay.
there's no actual fighting on the ground. You get points.
Is there weight classes?
It didn't seem to be.
No age divisions.
I can't be sure of that. I don't know why they would. I don't know who would be. Is there a market for a senior pillow fighting event?
I mean,
I don't think there is.
I'm sure there's a market somewhere for a women's pillow fight league.
There definitely is. I mean, all markets. I think that's the only market. I think the Ocho should basically
viewership numbers would be very high in certain demographics.
Let's focus on the women's pillow fight, but they're not doing that right now. There's men. Some of them are MMA fighters. Some of them had on a mask. So it's a little bit of a combat hybrid between WWE and a real sport. There's no knockouts, obviously, because they're fighting with pillows. It's more about points. So you hit them on the arm, they don't get a point. You hit them on the head of the body. There's ways to get there with the pillow. I just think it's in the initial stages. My whole thing could be the old man. I could be like the grizzled pillow. He's been pillow fighting the ladies since the early 70s. That type of thing. And then take that all the way to the belt, if there is a belt to be had.
I think I would join you, but come dressed as a goose, but let them think that I'm only using like a goose down pillow, and that the punches won't be hard.
Yeah, I don't know that they're hard anyway. Nobody seemed to be. They were winded after beating each other with the pillow. I saw this on the Ocho. This is what you do in the holidays, people. When you have your kids in, or you have your family in, and you just are done and you're ready for them to go home. This is what you do. You're like, you focus in on the Ocho, because they're going to run you between tag, that tag game, which same people that produce my TV. This is not a good thing about my TV show, but the TV show I'm on nationwide, there's a distributing company that sends it out to the Yes Network and all over the country, to Cox or CBS affiliates and all over the country, Gray Media. There's that company, and then there's a production company that does the actual show, produces the show out of the Las Vegas affiliate, Fox affiliate in Las Vegas. That production company also does. They do the NFL games for New Orleans. They do the NFL games for the Vikings, actually. They work for the NFL. And they produce their games, but besides my show, they also produce the tag. You've seen the tag, right?
I have seen tag. That's some fun stuff.
That you have to be more athletic. I'm not good enough to do the tag. Although there might be a world for tag meets pillow fighting. You go grab a pillow and then tag turns into the fight. So I'm going to pitch that too.
Do you go windmill? Do you go uppercut? Like what's the technique for pillow?
It's a lot of quick jabs, because there's no home runs. You can't knock somebody out with a pillow. So it's a lot of over the top, and a lot of this and a lot of that. And it's a technical battle. So requires some upper body strength, which I currently don't have. So that might give me a reason to get back into shape in 2025. If you want to get your bankroll in shape in 2025, go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up today. Let's talk about we talked about the playoff. Let's talk about the Vikings and Lions in detail, because that is the big game this week. Who do you like in this game? The Vikings, as we talked about, injuries on defense. They're super dangerous offensively. The Vikings have it rolling right now. Vikings going on the road to Detroit, kind of your standard 2.5 point line for the home field, which is what the NFL kind of gives. So Vegas sees these teams as very evenly matched. What happens here?
I think the injuries to the Lions defense plus David Montgomery really kind of hinders them a bit. The fact, though, that they play so well at home, that crowd and that whole area, Jack, is absolutely flush in Honolulu blue. My best friend lives in Detroit, not a Lions fan. He is flabbergasted at how that city has gravitated towards this team. And they've really created an interesting home field, because they can go out and maybe dictate, a play or two in a game, and they maybe swing. Maybe that offsets the injuries. Maybe that offsets Dan Campbell's gut feelings. That said, Minnesota's so good right now, and you give me a team which I think that has the better defense plus points in a must-win game. I feel like that's, for me, that probably would lean me towards the Vikings.
You wouldn't think there'd be a letdown after last week, but I think naturally it might be hard to have a similar game. I talked about this when you talked about Ohio State in their first-round playoff game versus the second-round playoff game. We'll see if that's right or not. But the quarterback for Ohio State could not have played any better in his first game.
Absolutely. And in that game against Tennessee, he was lights out. And Sam Darnold is not going to throw for a career high again next week, most likely too. So
right. So where's the regression there, and where does that hit? I'll just tell you right now, this will probably not be one of our plays because of everything we just talked about. The Dan Campbell stuff. Vikings, I think, have some flaws when they get pressure, if they get behind with what Sam Darnold does with the ball. And thirdly, which it only takes two with me to kind of back off a game like that, but the third one is that when you have a player, especially in the NFL, that does so well, on the TV show that Beat the Odds, there's a whole section that this group called the Sports Grid. They're out of New York and they do a lot of digital stuff. They have a whole segment on that show, and it basically is who will play a lot better or a lot worse than they did last week. Because you can look at that not only for player props, but in a team, if a guy goes out and he careers, and he's not new to the game, new to the sport in this league, he goes out and careers, inevitably he's going to back up and not play as well the next week. Guys just light bulbs don't go off all of a sudden, and they play better. Now, you could say, well, they're playing Detroit's defense. They got a bunch of backups. There's an opportunity here for another great outing. I'm not going to argue he won't have a good outing. I don't know. We'll see. But I would expect there's a possibility that Green Bay win took a little more out of them than
and they were in absolute control of that game, and then all of a sudden it got really shaky.
It doesn't make sense to an average fan who's like, hey, go home, eat a snack, get after it. Let's go. But it's hard to stay at that level. And Detroit, they're at home circling the wagons and this is a big deal, right? This is the biggest
thing. Yeah, this is the biggest thing in Detroit Lions football since Barry Sanders.
Well, even the repercussions of losing this game.
Oh God.
The winner, I guess, is home field throughout. The loser goes to the 5 seed.
They're the 5 seed, and then they're playing. Yeah, they're going to be playing at a division champion. So they're either going to be going to probably Tampa Bay or Philly, perhaps. I mean, that's shaky.
So this could be a thanks for coming out game if you lose. So it's tough for Detroit. The motivation and being at home, I think there's a lot to that. Minnesota has benefited, and a huge, huge deal for their playoff perspective if they win this and get to play, because you talk about that part of the country. Detroit and Minnesota both, fan base, incredible.
Yep.
A lot like Oklahoma fans, OU, they have nothing. What else are they going to do? I mean, the Pistons stink.
They're getting better, though. I mean, they won more games. The Pistons have won as many games this year as they had the last two.
Yeah, I don't know that I would pre-purchase Final Four or
You're not getting. Yeah, I'm not going to sign up for a waiting list for Pistons playoff tickets for sure.
Just yet. I mean, let's get them in the right direction.
We'll see what March looks like.
Exactly. But right now we're looking at teams that this is everybody in town. This is what they're talking about. You go to work, you go to the coffee shop, whatever. Hey, you see the Vikings? Detroit's great. How are we going to do? All those things. So whoever gets home field in this, they become one of the absolute favorites. And think about the conversation next week. Whoever wins this, they're going to have home field throughout. If it's Minnesota, they will have just beaten two of the tougher teams with the most wins in the history of the league. I mean, we have this will be a monumental run heading into the playoffs with a bye. And so getting rested. So they're going to inevitably, the winner of this is probably going to be the favorite to win that conference. And if it's Minnesota, they're absolutely going to be the favorite. So I think that huge repercussions. It's too many variables. We're not going to release it. Over the total is probably the best play, not only because of the Detroit defense, but when you look at it from a numbers standpoint, besides Detroit's covered 5 in a row against Minnesota. So if you go back the last 5 times, Detroit's covered 5 straight. In the series, it's going over almost every time. The last 5 games when these two teams have played, it's gone over the total. When they've played at Detroit, it's the last 5 times it's gone over the total. So everything leads toward a lot of points. The only thing that doesn't lead to it is the fact that I think turnovers probably come up with Minnesota, and the fact that I'm not sure Darnold has anywhere near the outing he just had. And newsflash, guys, getting over 50 in the NFL requires a ton of good possessions. Anybody that's been playing, we had over with Tampa Bay this last week that flew over. I mean, it was over early in the third quarter. But when you're watching that game early, you watch the in-game total. And even as they've scored, it went 7-0, 7-7. This gets Carolina. So the total's 48-49 last week. 7-0, 7-7, 14-7. That's in the first quarter. The in-game total was still only 51. And they scored at every single turn. Now, in hindsight, I should have bet my house on the over because it flew over.
Right.
But those in-game totals are done by analytics. They're done by probability of math. It's not, nobody's watching the game and punching it. Hey, I think this is going to happen. Nobody,
because if they did do it that way manually, the Pop-Tarts Bowl between Iowa State and Miami, the live total would have been 160 because both teams were at 28 early in the second quarter. So yeah, I mean, we definitely could have seen some big numbers there. But yeah, it is an algorithm, and it is it's an interesting watch if you're ever have those numbers pulled up and see how they fluctuate during the game and how little they don't vary from that starting number, even with some early scores.
We could spend the entire show patting myself on the back, by the way. That we just mentioned another game that we had over as a selection. The selections were
that one before halftime, by the way.
One before halftime. We our selections are undefeated last week. Every single select. I'll have emails during the course of the season. Your selections stink, Jack. Your opinions about. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. I just want to tell people, shut up. Turn your computer off. Sign up, bet the games, and go play golf. All right, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 30 years. My God, I'm not going to, because you think that you've seen something with the plays, I'm not changing anything. You don't bet a 50th of what I bet. I haven't done it for half as long. I don't care what you think about my selections and opinions, because I know over the course of they're always going to win. And they're doing it again this year. The selections last week, undefeated. I don't even want to look at the number away from the line. How many points they won by, because the totals went over. The in-game total in that game, the Miami-Iowa State game, was at 1.98.
Gee, Christmas.
The total before the game was like 51.
54, yeah.
54.
Yeah.
It was over by halftime. Listen, guys, I go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up. But, yeah, we'd over in that one. This one here, play's probably over, but you got to get a lot to go right. Or what's happened lately with these good teams is the execution and desperation time has been incredible. They're getting late in the game. They're scoring a ton of points late. Our only loss on Sunday was not the only loss. We lost the overtime underdog with Atlanta, but the other one was the Jets and Buffalo total under. That in-game total late in the second quarter, in-game total was 27, and it ended up getting over because everybody decided they didn't care anymore.
Yeah,
nobody cared. The Jets are just trying to get on the board and not be shut out. It was 40-0 after a couple of defensive scores, and then it got over that way. So I guess my point is, when you go over the total, you're going to have to earn it if it's in the 50s. So that's the best play. We're probably not going to have a selection. We'll see. This show's taped early in the week. This game's on Sunday, but things might change. But right now, probably not. We're going to have much better spots to make.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. For the final time this week, here is our host, a man who is a favorite yet again this year. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour segment number 3. Happy New Year to everybody out there. I don't know if I've said that, but 2025, the good thing about a new year is that you do get the opportunity to turn over some new leaves on the way that you behave and the way you are and what you're doing. And it is a great time to kind of take inventory of your sports gambling world. If you're betting on sports, make sure you're doing it responsibly. Make sure you're doing it with some type of plan. You're not just throwing money out there hoping it sticks against the wall. Although that might be fun in the moment, it's not going to long-term have a lot of sustainability. And so if you're going to bet, take some inventory. Look at the accounts that you're on. See if you've done how you've done over the last year, over the last 2 years. If you're not a client, go to fatjacksports.com. Get involved right now. You're going to save a bunch of money and get in the system for the year, and you're going to change that. You're going to actually build profit during the new year. You have anything besides going out and doing something that requires a lot of effort? Mentally, do you have anything you want to be a little more positive? You want to change job? Anything like that going on in the new year, Brandon?
I honestly feel like being a data nerd that I am and spending a lot of time in spreadsheets, I am actually going to track every single item I can think of. Like, how many times did I go to the gym this year? How many times did, how much, I'm tracking all my bets. I created, Jack, a spreadsheet that I will track every wager that I made. And I can go back and look at it and see on a statistical breakdown of where I did good, where I did bad, what I can improve on, and going to take inventory. And that's sort of my resolution, which I normally don't do, but like I've kind of made a mental checklist of like, I want to know where I stand at all times. I want to know what I'm doing good, what I need to improve on. So I think tracking everything is going to be my thing this year to really kind of hold myself accountable for my behaviors, my actions, and my fun.
All right. Makes sense. I don't hate it. It's doable. I've looked at a few different things. One thing I am going to try, and I started this about a month ago, is I'm going to try to be more positive every single day. I'm one of those that, especially certain times of the year, when if I lose, and it has nothing to do with the money, but if I lose, or somebody, I know somebody's upset out there. I've been doing this for 27 years, so these relationships that I have with the thousands of clients I have, I don't want to say care about it too much, but I definitely allow it to creep into my day, especially my morning.
Kind of take it personally, yeah.
I do take it personally, and not what they say. It's not that. That's not even getting through anymore. I don't read any of it, actually. None.
But people have trusted you to be like, hey, this guy obviously has his act together. He's been doing this for a very long time. I'm going to follow him and do what he does. And then if you have a day where, hey, you drop off a 2-4, it eats at you worse than anything someone could say, because that you may have, quote unquote, in their eyes, let them down.
It does. And I've let myself down. But here's the thing. The good news, and I recognize this, 95% of my clients understand the game. They're not children. Mm-hmm. They're not petulant children. Do you cuss me, Brandon, when I have a losing day? Are you sitting over there telling Jamie this for da-da-da-da-da? Not that you tell me if you did. But my guess is
there are times, though, when I get the text and with the picks come in, I'm like, what the F is this guy?
Yeah, you're going to cuss me before the game.
Before the act, yeah. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay, I didn't see the vision.
Yeah.
So that's on me.
So I recognize that 95% of the clients out there, they're not saying they're going on like I am.
Right.
If I lose, I don't care. I don't think one thing about it. I move on to the next day, but I do think about the guy out there that just signed up. I mentally in the morning will wake up and if I have, I don't know, 25 or 30 guys that signed up one day, and I'll recognize a name that a guy had not signed up for a month and then he got back on. Mm-hmm. I think about him first thing in the morning. I don't want to think about this dude first thing in the morning. I shouldn't be thinking about him.
I would say it's probably a good thing for you to not to be thinking about anyone outside your immediate household first thing.
Any dudes first thing in the morning, right? That's not nobody's paying.
I wasn't going to say that because
right. It's not. You're right. It's not
your
the
point's
best.
Not right.
It's not the right plan. And I will tell you, Brandon, the reality is nobody pays me enough for me to do that. Right. For me to roll over. I'm betting tens of thousands of dollars a game on these. I don't need to be thinking about Joe McPhail or whatever his name is first thing in the morning because he took a month off and lost on his own, then signed up and went 2-4. That's not healthy. I've been doing it for 27 years. So my goal this year is to do less of that. Understand when I go to bed, whatever it is tomorrow, whatever Joe McPhail's in middle of, he's going to have to take care of that himself because it's his situation he's created, not mine if you look long term. So basically looking more long term, less micro thinking on things like that as we get into the new year. So again, it's a stupid thing. It's not like I'm running a marathon, but probably will help me a little bit. And it makes I'm not sure how obtainable the pillow fighting is if they don't have a senior division. So I'll put that on the back burner. I'll try to do this first. So FatJackSports.com. Get signed up quickly. We have Buffalo on a futures ticket to win the Super Bowl. I
15,
still feel
18 to 1, depending on when you got it. Yep.
Yeah. I started talking about that in July around the country when I started going on for the summer stuff and into August. Every week we talked about Buffalo. So you should have a ticket right now if you listen to this show. Besides, and I still love that play. I'm not sure if they're going to win. There's a lot of competition, a lot of teams at the top that are very even. Buffalo, Baltimore, Philadelphia. Philadelphia looks the most equipped right now. Number one total defense, top 3 or 4 offense. They're the team right now that looks like they are the most equipped to me to make to win it all. But besides the Buffalo play, who else would you say right now is a favorite to win this? Who's your one team? You got a team?
The team that I'll tell you, the team that scares me the most, if I was a fan of any other team, it's the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah,
Sean McVay is very smart and has gotten a lot out of his players. them getting Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back on the field healthy is going to be a tough out for anybody. I don't know if I can pin anybody, sort of crown them, because I think any of the top 5 probably have flaws. Baltimore is sneaky, but I can't trust them to if they get behind to come back. Philly, Buffalo, Kansas City. It's going to be one of those 3. But man, if you have the Rams on your schedule in the playoffs, you need to be concerned.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, the playoffs are going to be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
A ton of really good games. I mean, really good games. And really good teams that all can win it all. There's probably 6 teams, man. I don't know that I'd be surprised, especially with Kansas City coming back the way they did, with the injuries and different things. There's 6 teams probably. I mean, if Buffalo wins it all, if Baltimore wins it all, if Detroit wins it all, if Minnesota, those 2, I mean, a little bit of a reach, but obviously Kansas City, Philadelphia. I mean, are you going to be surprised if we show up in Vegas in the first part of February and 2 of any of those teams are in it? Nobody's going to say that doesn't make any sense.
I would be more surprised if any of the following 6 were there: Packers, Steelers, Chargers, Texans, Bucks, Broncos. If any of those 6 are there, I'd be more surprised than any of those 6 not being there.
And to your point, I think you put the Rams along with, in my opinion, you put the Rams, Detroit, and Minnesota. The general public won't look at it that way. They'll say Detroit, Minnesota, I saw it come, blah, blah, blah. I would put the Rams, Detroit, Minnesota kind of in the same little middle pack. The teams
behind
you just
Philly.
listed. Yeah, behind the top 5 or 6 teams we just mentioned.
Okay.
Baltimore, Buffalo,
Kansas City,
those type.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philly. Those 4. Then there's a 3 of the NFC North contenders and
the Rams.
And then there's a big drop off that I would be surprised. Those other ones, it's just they're more flawed, and they're flawed in different ways, but they're all very dangerous. Playoffs are going to be incredible. So, and yeah, we haven't talked enough about Baker Mayfield. He's made so much money. I might go buy a Bugatti with the Baker Mayfield money and put on the tag Mayfield money. I wonder if that's already taken, or BM money.
Trademarked, yeah.
BM money, that'd be something. Would people be like, this guy's taking a drop of some deuces? And
I always see vanity plates, and I always try to figure out what they actually mean, and if there's some sort of sick and twisted thing I can maybe make it mean.
Yeah,
there's a lot of ways that one could go.
Yeah, proctologist. I could be a proctologist. I could be a gastroenterologist, or I could be a Baker Mayfield fan. I think that's what I'm going to do. Get BM money.
You're just into black men.
Yeah, exactly. So, and have people figure it out. When they ask, it comes a tax write-off because they ask. I'm like, this is Baker Mayfield money, you sicko. No, I'm not taking advantage of people's bowel movements. Come on.
I don't know what you're thinking.
Let's get out of here. I got to go. All right, guys, enjoy your week. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today. Win this year. And I hate it when the last 2 or 3 minutes are the only good part of the show. So, guys, have a great week. Don't drink and drive. Wager responsibly. Till next week, for Brandon, your host. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. This has been the Fat Jack Sports Hour.